the dead. Speaker for the dead. Speaker for the dead.
My brothers and sisters, thank you for joining me. We gather here at this time to set forth, to right the wrongs, to overcome, to beat back and to destroy the ideologies that would seek to destroy our entertainment forever, that would take story and verse and turn it into something to divide, to conquer, and to destroy us. We must not let this happen. We will go forth. We will be a legion. We will take back that which is ours. We will fight, and we will be victorious. Now let us go forth and do what must be done.
Your time has come. A storm is coming. Our storm. And when it arrives, it will shake the universe. Long live the fighters!
Hello and welcome, everyone. Looks like we may have a couple people in here. Dega Outlaw, the doctor, is in the house. So today is a little bit of a milestone for me. I am streaming here and on Rumble for the first time. At least I hope that's what happens. Rumble has been a little bit different to fold into how this is supposed to work. So we'll see if that actually happened after this broadcast is over. But this is a little bit of a deeper subject than I would normally cover on a live stream. Usually I'm just talking about films or, whatever, just the entertainment news or a movie that I've seen or an anime that I like. This week I wanted to do something a little bit more serious. And there's a good reason for this, because I feel it's something, and I don't know if anybody's talked about this. I know that people like Jordan Peterson have covered this subject, and I am not a psychologist. Okay, just get that out there. Not a psychologist. I've never played one on TV. I took some psychology classes in college, but I'm no expert on psychology. But this is a phenomenon that I think has been growing in our society, and it has become a real problem because it's almost being encouraged. And what I'm talking about, if you saw the add in for this live stream, was the problem of cognitive dissonance. Now, let me pull up here. Cognitive dissonance is described like this. A field in psychology of cognitive dissonance is perception of contradictory information and its mental toll. Relevant items for information include personal actions, feelings, ideas, beliefs, and value and environment, which, like most definitions about something in psychology, tells you nothing. So let's try a slightly bit of a different. So cognitive dissonance is discomfort a person feels when their behaviors do not align with their values or beliefs. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when a person holds two contradictory beliefs at the same time. Now, I have become more aware of this phenomenon just in the last few weeks. I mean, I've been watching it happen for years, and we're all guilty of it. That's the funny thing. Is that we are all guilty of some level of cognitive dissonance in our lives. You can also call it hypocrisy, but it's hypocrisy doesn't quite cover it. Cognitive dissonance is something different. Cognitive dissonance causes mental damage to you. At least that's the theory behind it. Being a hypocrite just makes you a butthole. I mean, it's saying one thing and doing and like, and it's like more pointed outwards, as where cognitive dissonance seems to be more internalized. It's a conflict for you inside. Now, I'll try and not make this too dry and stuff like that. I want to give you examples coming from Hollywood. If you guys have any examples of things that have happened either in your life or things that you've seen, please throw them up in the comments, because that helps us understand this phenomenon. And I don't know why I hit my mic all the time. It's like bong. Maybe it's because I'm doing this all the time. Sorry, I talk with my hands, if you haven't noticed. I'm the opposite of George Herbert Walker Bush, who used to be like, blah, 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 blah. He wouldn't move at all. In fact, they had to teach him to move his hands when he was speaking, when he was president. So when I noticed this cognitive dissonance was lately after I'd done my Dune 2 review. Most of the hate that I seemed to be getting on that video, and I got a lot, it was about 65% likes to dislikes ratio. So, I mean, I was almost half for half of people who liked that video and people who did not like that video, which is fine. That video has done better than any video on my channel for a while, and I don't even know why. I can't even tell you why that happened. So the funny thing is when I was reading some of those comments on that video, I noticed that there was a disconnect in the logic that people were using. And it was very bizarre. It was a strange phenomenon to watch, and to have people like doing it in real time with me. I mean, there was some exchanges that went on for quite a few comments back and forth. The one was like 15 comments long. The guy had got on there and was like, this isn't a terrible video, but I adore the books. I love blah, 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 blah. But I'm so glad to see that they changed Chani and they did this and they did that. And I'm just like, wait, what? And so I asked this guy, I'm like, wait a minute. So are you saying Frank Herbert got his own character wrong? Is that the case? Like, so you love the books, but you think he got it wrong? I'm like, but you're the same person who said, oh, I love Frank Herbert's books, but you think he did it wrong. And you are glad to see Denis Villeneuve change that. And I just thought, what a strange thing to think, to have those two beliefs in your head and not, but I mean, and the more I tried to kind of push him on this, the more belligerent he became. And it was really bizarre to watch. And it was watching this phenomenon happen in real time, where somebody held two contradictory beliefs. I love Frank Herbert, but I love this movie that changed a whole bunch of the crap in his books. And they couldn't reconcile. They couldn't actually argue with me on the merits of their thoughts. Like, my logical arguments were just bouncing off of them. Now, I went in preparation for today, I went and watched some Jordan Peterson videos and a few other videos just to for psychologists and stuff, to see if I grasped this concept the way I needed to understand when I was talking about it with you guys today. Because it's one thing to be a hypocrite, and that does certainly have a part of this, but it is such a strange thing to watch how people who want to hold on to two completely different ideas in their head. I love Frank Herbert books, but I love this that was completely changed and it was wrong, and I can't defend it. But when somebody challenges me on it, I'm just going to become belligerent and violent. And that's one of the key indicators of cognitive dissonance, is that you become belligerent and you degenerate into personal attacks because you're having an internal conflict that you can't separate those things. You can't reconcile these two irreconcilable differences. And so you degenerate into just trying to lash out to get somebody to go away. But I have this happen a lot on that Dune video. Like, people, like, I had one guy get on there and he called me a miserable cunt. Now, I don't know if you can say that word on YouTube, but I'm just telling you what I got called. I was called an old miserable cunt. And maybe he was British, because the British use that word really freely and they don't think of it quite the same way we do. But the funny thing is like, the more like, and I was just like, And he said, this video is made for this guy is a miserable incel, and all the typical things that we as YouTubers get called if we have an opinion that differs with somebody who's psychotic. And there's a lot of that. And it's like the civility is gone out of our society. Like, you can just say whatever you want because, well, I'm hiding behind this little picture that's not actually me. And I can say, that's why when I've done these videos, I always put myself in them, because I'm not going to hide behind an avatar. I'm not going to hide behind a thing. These are my opinions. This is my beliefs, and I'm going to state them the way they are, and you get to see who's actually speaking. That's important to me. And not to say that guys that don't do that. I know Loki for a long time on his channel wouldn't show himself on camera because of a job he'd held in the past, and there was certain personal security issues that he had because of that, and so he always used his avatar. It was very rare to see Loki actually on screen. It was a couple of years before I actually ever saw Loki in real person. And that was with a guy behind the scenes on some of his live streams who they weren't on air, but like it was kind of a funny thing. But I always wanted to be able to put a face. I usually don't give my last name because that can open up problems for not just me, but for my family. And I'm not going to rope them into anything that happens because of something I said on YouTube. Not that people couldn't find out, I'm sure, if they were looking. But here's the deal. This seems to be being promoted. Let me give you an example of cognitive dissonance that just happened today. Now, our illustrious president, Joseph Robinette Biden, and I say that with all the sarcasm I can possibly muster. There's nothing decent or honorable about him. He declared today, Easter Sunday, one of the holiest days to Christians around the world, Easter Sunday, he declared today the national, how did he say it? It was so stupid. National Transgender Viewing Day, or a National Day of Transgender Visibility, I think was what they called it. The rest of us in the world call it nonsense, because that's what it was. And you see, here's Joe Biden, a quote unquote Catholic, putting out this order about Transgender Day on a Christian holiday, which Christian teachings they're against transgenderism. Like and maybe some of the new modern Christian theologies are more open to it than the older Christian theologies, but not really. It's not. It's just not a good thing. It's this promoting of gender dysphoria and stuff by a Catholic is I think Joe Biden and people like him, and I'm not just saying Democrats, because Republicans do this, like, just so that you guys are aware, I am an independent. I consider myself a conservative, but I will listen to anybody. Like, I listen and watch Bill Maher almost every week, because although Bill Maher has Trump derangement syndrome, there are some things that Bill Maher actually gets right. Now there's some things he's still screwed up on and stuff, but I mean, we all have beliefs that are, sometimes they're a little out there, and sometimes, it's hard to defend them and things like that. But that goes back to cognitive dissonance. When we're being told that men and women are the same, that there's no differences between them, you cannot help but have a cognitive dissonant moment or cognitive dissonance when you're trying to hold the beliefs that, but then there's 72 genders, and then there's all of this. It's like it's purposely being created that so that you can't, like, you are forced in today's society to have a certain level of cognitive dissonance in you, because you're being told things that are blatant falsehoods or partial truths, and then you're having to try and reconcile those things with long-term beliefs. Now, this causes internal damage to people. Like it causes stress, it causes guilt, it causes anger, it has a myriad number of bad effects on you psychologically, physically, and yet it seems to be being promoted. Like, hey, this is just another thing. Don't even worry about it. Just totally be. So see now I think I have some cognitive dissonance about some things. Let me give you an example. So when I was in the grocery store helping my parents this week, I ran across this. So this is Time Magazine's book this week, and it was just sitting on the stand. I never buy new magazines when I'm in the grocery store till I saw this one. And it's 55 years of the Final Frontier. And there you go through these things, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this. And then they had a page like this. Let me show it to you. So, famous fans. And I don't know if you can see, you got Angelina Jolie, you got Barack Obama, you got Tom Hanks, Rosario Dawson. So there's a few people that are in this. But as I was, and I was just like, wow, it's, why aren't there any Republicans or conservatives? I'm like, because I know conservatives love Star Trek, and so, but it's like, but so that's one page that I'm just like, oh, okay, and I struggle with. So there was another, as I was going through here, I'd come across a picture. And I'm trying to find the one. I apologize. I should have had them like all marked out so that I could just go right to it. But so there's this picture. This picture is from, well, it's from Star Trek. But if you don't know where that comes from in Star Trek, you have the same problem I do. See, that comes from Star Trek Discovery, which, in my opinion, is not Star Trek. Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek, everything after 2008 is not Star Trek. It is some weird, yes, it is, the usual suspects. Because heaven forbid Time Magazine be fair or show anybody that they politically don't like in a positive light. But I mean, everything that happens post 2008 with Star Trek has been just, and I've had to compartmentalize that for myself, really, because they say it's Star Trek, but I know it's not. Now, see, that to me, that's another thing where they're the one with cognitive dissonance, that they don't even understand what Star Trek is. So how can you create, produce, write, and film Star Trek if you don't understand the fundamentals of Star Trek? So it's kind of an issue for me where these people who don't understand, it's like Star Wars. How can you have Star Wars when you've taken all the Star Wars out of Star Wars? Like, it still has the veneer, but there is no real Star Wars to it anymore. It's or any, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you could pick literally almost every single thing that's being produced right now and created out of Hollywood TV shows, whatever. I mean, we had Watchmen. We had a Watchmen TV show that had nothing to do with the Watchmen. I mean, it was a joke. It was, I mean, everything they did. We had a Batgirl TV show. It was a Batman show that wasn't about Batman. We have comics where comic book heroes are now said to be gay, because these people, they cannot understand, they cannot reconcile the two beliefs that, hey, all of these characters were wildly popular and amazingly great. They were all heterosexual. They were not gay, but these people can't reconcile those facts. They're not heterosexual or they're not homosexual. This person who's writing the show is, so they want them to be a heterosexual or a homosexual. So they make them homosexual so that they can ease their cognitive dissonance, because for some reason they can't reconcile those two facts with who they are. And what happens is it ruins everything. But then it almost leads to cognitive dissonance in other people, because I have to sit there and say, well, that says Star Trek on it, but it's not Star Trek. And so there's like, it causes an emotional thing. I mean, every time I think about Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek the 2008 movie, I have to basically convince myself that those things don't exist, creating in me a sense of cognitive dissonance. See, I think these people live with so much of this in their lives, they want to force everybody to experience it. They want to ruin and destroy and crap on everything. Because this is actually pretty good. This was actually pretty good. I mean, the pictures and some of the articles and stuff, but it always comes at it from a Star Trek is all about liberalism and Star Trek is all about, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't think that's what Gene Roddenberry thought. I don't know if Gene Roddenberry was a Democrat. I don't know if he was Republican. I don't know if he was a Buddhist. I don't know. I don't know about those personal things about Gene Roddenberry because Gene Roddenberry didn't make those an issue. So let me give you another example from Star Trek. So I'm going to add something here, and we're going to watch this. And I may have to pause this clip to keep from being copyrighted by the psychos who now control Star Trek. But this is from the original series.
Captain Kirk?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Scott.
What a charming negress. Oh, forgive me, my dear. I know that in my time, some use that term as a description of property.
But why should I object to that term, sir? You see, in our century, we've learned not to fear words.
Just think about that for a moment. That was Gene Roddenberry's vision. That was Gene Roddenberry's vision. And these people who run Star Trek now and do this kind of stuff now, they don't understand this. They think of nothing but words and the meanings of words and how can I be offended and how can I be problematic. So what happens to one of those Star Trek fans that are new Star Trek fans who see something like this? Can they even understand it? What? She's not offended? Oh, I'm offended for her. And you see, that's a problem. That's something that we're dealing with. And this is something where it's becoming more and more prevalent, where like people, you know, they'll sit there and they'll tell you, well, I don't believe in violence, and silence is violence, and words are violence, and they change the meanings of things so that they can ease their cognitive dissonance, because if they don't, they have to deal with the guilt and the shame and I think it doesn't really work for them. That's why these people are so miserable. They're changing all the definitions. They're trying to make words mean things that they never meant, and they do this so that they can, try and justify what's happening in their world. It is just a bizarre thing, and they're trying to push that on everybody. Where, I mean, like I said, you'll have people be like, I don't believe in violence, but I want to kill all Trump supporters. What? Okay. I don't, but it's stuff like that. It's, the vegetarians who are like, I think animal cruelty is terrible. I'll have the fish sandwich with a little bit of mayo, and it's like, because fish somehow doesn't feel the same thing. Now there are those people who actually try and live their beliefs, and that's the most important part of not being caught up in cognitive dissonance, is actually trying to live your beliefs. But your beliefs cannot conflict with facts, because anytime that happens, you're going to experience cognitive dissonance. When somebody proves you wrong, when somebody displays a fact or whatever that you cannot rationalize, whatever, you're going to have real problems. So it's kind of a sad thing. Let me go ahead and take this back out if I can get there we go. Boom. There we go. So we'll take Abe Lincoln off the screen. Not that I don't love Abraham Lincoln, but so it's just a real issue that I think is becoming chronic within the United States. I mean, if you look around, the amount of people who you can visibly see suffering from mental illness, And I think a lot of it starts with cognitive dissonance. I think people become despondent with who they are and what they are. Hail, Spartan! Thank you for jumping in here. Good to see you. But it is a really sad thing where these people cannot reconcile what they believe with the realities of the world. I believe there's 26 genders, when it's like, it's obvious if you look at anybody, that's not reality. But they've tried to change everything. And so like, and I mean, it's amazing. Like the guy that was in that what was it? It was a viral video. He's standing there, and it's clearly a dude with some mildly long hair, and he's like, "It's ma'am," because some clerk in a convenience store said, "Thank you, sir," or "Here's your bag, sir," and he freaked out. "It's ma'am," with a deeper voice than I have, and people tell me I have a fairly deep voice, but I mean, what? This is a man suffering from cognitive dissonance, gender dysphoria. He doesn't realize who and what he actually is. It's bizarre. And it's showing up in all of our entertainment. We're seeing it everywhere. The people who tried to convince me desperately, yes, Spartan, that was a funny but scary video. And then there's a lot of those where it's like, you have to laugh because you're just like, because if you really start to internalize that and think about it very much, you will scare the crap out of you, because you're just like, how many people are like this? How many people out there are like this, are being this way, have this obsession with, with being completely wrong, and are trying to justify it in their own head to the point where they make themselves mentally ill. And they may be mentally ill already, but like they just make it worse, because the more you try and convince yourself of that your beliefs are right in the light of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, it's like it's one of the reasons that I don't believe in this climate catastrophe or global warming stuff. Not because I don't believe that there isn't the possibility that there could be global warming and stuff like that, but what they consider global warming, I consider the weather. Yeah, because weather has been changing for Earth's entire history. And we have a very short recorded history for what's actually happened on Earth. We've had ice ages. We've had, supposedly the scientists tell us that, we have all these things that have happened in the past. So ice ages and great catastrophes and the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. And there's all these things that they're saying that are absolute facts. And then they're just like, but global warming is a catastrophe and it's all mankind's fault. When we know that there have been periods in Earth's history where the Earth was warmer than it is now, because of the plants that they found during that time that could not have lived in those regions where in a cold climate. So the Earth had to have been warmer in these areas that are now colder. And it's just, but these people and I refuse to bog myself down with cognitive dissonance. It's like, I believe in facts. I believe in straightforwardness. I believe in my faith and stuff, because to me, my faith makes sense. Now, to other people, their faiths make sense, for someone who is not of the same religious faith as I am. But even say if you're a Catholic, it's hard to reconcile the sex problem that happened within the church, the sex scandals and things like that, with what that the church teaches and stuff. The only way you can really explain that is, people are wicked. The gospel is true. If you follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, you would not have done the things that those priests did. Therefore, they are obviously not really living their religion. So it's a matter of reconciling the facts with what you believe, and making sure that when you find yourself in error, you have to be willing to change. And that's the problem that our society seems to have a problem with. Nobody wants to admit that they're wrong, because it's not like the old days when you used to be able to admit you were wrong and be allowed to change. Now, if you admit you're wrong, they attack you harder. They attack you more, because they see that as a sign of weakness. See, he was wrong. Let's get him. And it's like, and I think it is preventing people from being willing to step forward in a public setting, especially, and say, yeah, I got that wrong. That was a mistake, and I've changed my opinion on that. You know, we used to have politicians that would do that, that could say, you know what, I made a mistake. And you know, I've gotten some new information, and I've thought about this longer, and I figured that this is what I want to do, and that this is what I need to do, to reconcile my beliefs with facts. You have to always be open to the possibility you might be wrong. And that's one thing I don't have a problem with, because I'm married. So I learned that I'm really mostly wrong all the time. I mean, once you get married to a woman, you won't have a lot of problem with cognitive dissonance, because she's not going to let you, because you're just going to be wrong all the time. I mean, once you understand that, I mean, life is so much simpler. Not really. Anyway, and I make my wife sound, but she's not. So it's just that this is a real struggle for people, and I see it coming more and more, especially in the comments I've been getting on some of my videos, since my videos have been getting a little bit more traction than I'm used to. I've had quite a few new subscribers come to my channel. Thank you and welcome if you're new to the channel. And like I said, I talk about everything. Now, I mean, we don't have a lot of people in here today, because this is a little bit of a departure for what I normally do on my channel. But I want to be able to talk about serious things, because they're a real issue. I think this cognitive dissonance issue and so many other mental issues that are plaguing us right now, we've had it so good for so long that we've become the kind of people who have diverged away from reality, because we can afford to. We can act in crazy ways that don't make any sense, because there's no immediate repercussions. One of the things I was talking about in my, and I keep referring to this a lot, but a lot of this has come from my Dune Part 2 video, where I was talking about the culture of the Fremen. And why that film had some major issues, because they altered the fundamentals of the Fremen culture. You see, and it goes back to the point I was just making, where when you have ease, when you have comfort, when you've got disposable income, when you've got all of these things, you feel secure. You have a security blanket, as where, like in the Fremen culture, they lived in a desert. Every moment of every hour of every day has to be spent in a desperate plight for survival. When it's no different than the original pioneers who came out west, or the pilgrims who landed at Plymouth Rock. Those people were desperately trying to survive, and many of them didn't, because of the harsh environment that they were in, and they didn't have room. They didn't have time for debates about who's a man and who's a woman and what's this and what's that. I mean, that's only something you can do when your society has reached a certain level of security. But see, and with that security comes the problem sometimes, is that our own prosperity becomes something of a detriment to us. And I think that not enough time is spent telling people, and a lot of it comes from what one of my favorite prophets from my church, my faith, talked about, is pride. Being so proud that you cannot admit when you're wrong. You cannot admit that there are issues that you need to alter and change what's happening in your life. It is a dangerous thing to have happen, where you allow yourself to live in a delusion. If I were to dress up in drag and try and convince my family and people around me to that I am something I am not, I would hope that they would have enough sense to help me see the error of my ways and not play into my delusion. But see, as a society, we don't we can give rise to that kind of nonsense, because if he's, hey Loki, how are you doing? Welcome in here. We're kind of having a deep discussion today, not anything necessarily fun, but but I mean, realistically, it is just, it's a sad thing that we become, that as we become more prosperous, we become greater as a civilization and stuff. It also gives rise to to corruption, to the possibility that we are going to have problems, that we allow problems to become, or have issues become problems that wouldn't have been had we been in a desperate fight for survival. Sometimes I think that we have it too good. And because we have it too good, we allow a bunch of nonsense to creep in and to corrupt our lives, and to, just it causes problems for us. And I bring this video out because I want people, and maybe some of the crazy people that came and commented on my Dune 2 video will someday see this video and go, maybe I'm wrong. But given my interactions with them, I highly doubt it, because these are people who want to live in their delusions, who are okay with living in a delusional sphere. But yeah, it is just kind of a sad thing to watch your culture, everything that you thought was rock solid, become brittle and crumble under the control and of lesser men. There's a poem, and I wish I'd have looked it up before I got on here today. It's a poem that was written, I believe, about the British Empire, but it talks about that we are not now the nation that we once were, that our greater days are behind us, and that we have been standing on the shoulders of giants, basically. And I'll have to find it at some point and post it, but it is a fantastic poem that talks about basically the fall of an empire, the corruption, the things that happens. And we as men, we love to talk about the Roman Empire, apparently, I guess, mainly because it's an important thing and men like to talk about important things, but that gets Tennyson. Thank you, Adega. I knew it. Anyway, it is such a fantastic poem. But it is just, if you ever get a chance to go read that, do, because it is very much a feeling of what we're going through now. But if I remember the poem right, towards the end, there's kind of a hopeful end to it. I have to go read it again. It's been a while. But it that which we are. It's the chance that you could actually come to rise above. And that's what I want to get out of this. The fact that we're degenerating as a culture into this era of cognitive dissonance is really sad to me, but it doesn't have to be. Like, we can actually rise above. We can become better. We don't have to let this happen. And that's what guys like me, Adega, Loki, there's a lot of people on the internet that are, you got the guys over at Echo Based Network. There's a lot of really good guys out there on YouTube and out there, and I've met a lot of really good people doing this. That's why we're doing this. We're fighting a culture war. We're fighting to save everything we hold dear, because things like Star Trek, the original series, and the original Star Wars and Dune and great works of art and fiction and stuff. And hail, Curtis, thank you for popping in here. Good to see you. We're trying to save these things, because once they're gone, they're gone. Like, once, and that's what bothers me. And when I get on and I make videos that anger people, because I got told, I don't know if it was a compliment or a diss on my Dune video, or it was just like, great troll video. And I was like, thanks, I think. But I didn't make that video to troll anybody. That was my honest opinion. That was that was honest. I was being absolutely open with that. I never say stuff just to troll people, because I think that's a waste. I don't want to just make, like, I say things to actually have a real dialogue with people, to actually have an honest, open discussion, so that things can get better, so people can grow and become better than we are, because that's the point of a lot of these YouTube channels. And I know a lot of times it seems like we come off negative and we come off as like, I hated this and this is terrible and stuff. But none of us who make those kind of videos want to be making those videos. None of us. Nobody started out wanting to do that. We all came to this wanting the best. That's why we were critical of the stuff that was not the best, because we've seen better. We want higher, we want more. And the second you start accepting garbage as a good thing, you're going to get more garbage. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to stop it. Stop calling stuff Star Trek that isn't Star Trek. Stop calling stuff that isn't Star Wars, Star Wars. Stop calling something that isn't Dune, Dune. You know, and they used to have, back in the old days, they used to have kind of a, oh, how do you say this? It's they had a respect that if they were going to take someone else's work and do something different with it, they wouldn't actually call it the thing that they were borrowing from. You know, so I remember seeing films like, and this is a bad example, but say the movie Where the Red Fern Grows, which is just such a sad film stuff. But say it was based off of a book called A Boy and His Dog, or maybe that's what they called the movie, A Boy and His Dog. But it's basically the story of Old Yeller, but they wanted to change a few things and stuff, and so they didn't want to call it Old Yeller because maybe the dog lived at the end, or something happened. They changed the story or whatever. They used to do that in Hollywood. They used to respect the original creators enough that it's like, hey, and I guess you could call it making a fan fiction, but it wasn't a cognitive dissonance kind of a thing where they were pretending something was something that it wasn't. But like, I mean, J.J. Abrams, that's basically what he did to Star Wars. He made something looking like Star Wars that isn't Star Wars. And at least when Zack Snyder had the gall to do something like that, he didn't call it Star Wars. He made something truly awful, but he didn't call it Star Wars. And that's the thing, is that's all we really want, is stop lying. Stop saying something is one thing when we all know it isn't. Because none of the tenets, none of the principles, none of the things that made it what it was are present. You need to have the decency and the dignity and the ability psychologically to deal with the fact that it's not what you think it is. That just writing Star Trek over the top of a script about something that isn't Star Trek-ish at all makes it Star Trek. It doesn't. There are a lot of things out there that aren't Star Trek. That are whatever. You wouldn't have taken the script from The Fugitive and wrote that as Star Trek The Fugitive, because it wouldn't make sense, or whatever. But it's just, not to say that Star Trek hasn't done episodes that are similar in some ways, and Prison Breaks and different things like that, because that's exactly what they can do. But they don't call the episode The Fugitive, or if they do, it's not even based on the same thing. So if you see what I mean, it's having respect. It's having the integrity to call something what it actually is. And I apologize that this is probably kind of a dry subject for everybody, but it is an important thing that we speak truth, and that when we hear truth, we have the fortitude to change. That we understand that we need to be different. We need to be better. And that maybe, but that we're always searching for more truth, because, as human beings, scientists comes up with things and then they prove themselves wrong and stuff. And that used to be a great thing when scientists could disprove their own theories. Now scientists get pissed off if you tell them that their science isn't accurate. It's just like, but it's not. Like, say someday we disprove quantum physics in lieu of a principle or an idea that actually is 1,000 times better. Well, what happens to all those people who will not let go of quantum physics because, well, that's what I liked. That's the way I liked how that worked. It's like, yeah, but it's not right. Like, we thought it was right, but it's not right anymore. You have to be able to change. And if you can't change, if you get locked into that, my beliefs versus facts, you're going to hurt yourself. Like you're going to damage yourself internally. And it's not something that I want to see happen to my culture. And that's why I'm speaking out about it today, is because we need to be the kind of people who can change. And I'm willing to talk to anybody. I'll talk to liberals. I talk to Catholics. So for those of you who don't know, I'm LDS, and I went on a mission for the LDS Church. I spent 2 years in England talking to people about my faith. But as part of that, I always felt it was important for me to listen to them, not just to try and convert them to what I think, because that's wrong. In my opinion, you have to be willing to listen and admit the possibility that you're wrong. And if you can't do that, if you get so locked into your beliefs that you can't budge an inch, you're in danger. I mean, there are some things that are fundamental truths, and they're not going to change. But there are things that can change, and we have to be willing to admit it when those things do show up in our lives, because it's important. It will keep us mentally healthy. It will keep our society mentally healthy. And we need to be able to help the people in our society who are having problems with this. As part of the research that I was doing for this topic today, I was looking up kind of the signs that you can tell if you're in a conversation with someone who has cognitive dissonance, and the steps to keep yourself from pushing them into irrationality. Because if you keep trying to talk to somebody who has cognitive dissonance, and you're hitting them with facts and logical arguments and stuff, sooner or later they will become irrational. They will become combative, and they'll shut down, and you won't be able to talk to them anymore. And you don't want that. If you're truly looking to help people, you have to be able to, when you see the signs that they're headed towards irrationality and complete shutdown, you kind of have to back up. And the one guy said, he suggested using humor. Make a self-deprecating joke about what you're talking about. Try and let them understand you're not an enemy. You're not there to destroy them. You're there to help. You're there to try and bring them to a better place, rebuild that rapport with them, so that hopefully you can keep that dialogue open and eventually get them to understand where they are. But the one of the things that was kind of kept coming up in the research I did was, you have to be aware. Like, you have to know what the steps of cognitive dissonance are. Or what are some of the signs and symptoms that you might be experiencing it, and be willing to step back and go, okay, all right, hold on for a minute. I need to reevaluate and stuff. If you find yourself becoming irrational, if you find yourself becoming overly agitated throughout an argument, now there's multiple reasons why that might happen, but I'm saying, if you're mad because somebody's making cogent arguments against you and you can't defend yourself, you can't defend your side, that might be either a sign that, one, you're a little illiterate on your own subject, your own opinions, you don't quite understand how you got them, and you might need to examine them a little bit, or you might be wrong. And these people might be hitting you with facts that you need to step back and actually take a good look at. I suggest, if you have any questions about this at all, or if you have experienced this with people online, and I haven't been handling it very well with the people that are being nasty and foul to me online or through my videos and stuff like that, because and I need to stop doing this, and I need to try and help them, but a lot of them won't be helped because they do not understand what's happening to them. They don't understand, because how else could you say, I love Frank Herbert's novels, they're amazing, I love them, I adore them, they're everything I ever wanted, but I'm so glad they changed Chani and made her a girl boss, and it was like, what? Just the two completely contradictory statements in the same comment, and I'm just like, And so I mean, yeah, boo, that's hard. I know, right? Oh, but it definitely is worth it, Curtis. And I don't say this as somebody who's got this figured out. I am under no delusions either that I'm right about a lot of stuff. In fact, I quite often think I'm wrong, even if I am right. Which you know, I mean, it's that being humble enough to get it when you see it coming, and you're like, oh, okay, I might be wrong on that, you know. And humility's hard. Humility is hard. That's why Jesus talked so much about it, is because he knew that's a hard thing for us. You know, we like being right. Who doesn't like being right? Everybody wants to be right. But when you're wrong, you really need to learn how to admit it. And, you know, I'll admit it. If anybody ever comes to me on a video and is like, hey, Brian, you forgot this and this, and you forgot that and whatever, I'll be like, hey, you're right. You're totally right. I did mess that up, or I said that wrong, or whatever. Because if you can't, oh yeah, you're going to be just a terrible, terrible person to deal with. You're going to be Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang. You can't admit when they're wrong, even though they're wrong about some stuff. And smart people are some of the hardest to convince that they've got cognitive dissonance, is because they think, oh, I'm smart about everything. I know I'm smart, so I don't have cognitive dissonance. And it's just like, yeah, if you got some bad information and you internalize that before you actually, oh, I don't know, really did figure some stuff out about that, you might have. I mean, I think that's how the climate crazy people are. They've been fed and taught this stuff in schools and stuff like that like they don't even think for themselves anymore. That they turn you into a Greta Thunberg. Thunberg. I don't know how you say her name. And like you just, yeah, yes, well said, Curtis. Awareness goes a long way. Yes, it does. Awareness goes a long way. It is important to look at yourself in a mirror once in a while and go, I might want to fix that. And I don't mean the word on your nose or whatever. I mean, what's going on in here? But I thank you guys for being here today. This is a really fascinating subject. Like I say, Jordan Peterson talks a little bit about this. In fact, in that really famous interview he did with the blonde chick on the, I don't know her name, the BBC and stuff, like, he stumps her dead in her tracks because he lays facts on her she cannot reconcile. And she's just like, ugh. I mean, it's like watching a robot get rebooted in live time, because she's just like, you know, it's like, I'm like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable to watch, because I mean, and all he did was say, you know, hey, you're telling me that I'm offensive, but you know, you have no problem offending me. And she's just like, you know, it's like, see, and so it's like, I don't know. A troll triggered me. I became aware they triggered me, and I calmed down and ended up triggering them. Well, and they got a 24-hour comment. And that's how you win. I mean, but I mean, I've just been kind of like, and I'll admit it, lately I've just been kind of riling them up, because like I never started out that way, but when people come at me with nastiness and illogical arguments, and like they start out with, you're an incel and you're this and you're that, I'll admit I don't like that. I'm like, I didn't come to your video. And the one guy was like, dude, you need to call. Like, he came in, called me an incel, said my video was made for incels, and and then that it's made because I hate women. I hate women. I have 5 daughters. I'm married. I have 5 daughters, and I hate women. What? Yeah. My daughters all came over for Sunday dinner today because they hate me, because I'm such a woman hater. But this guy was just, it was weird. But like, and I said that I got 6 daughters. I'm not an incel. Most of the people I know that listen to, they're not incels. Like, I think you're talking about you. And I'm like, because like anyway, it was just a bizarre and I come back at him and I just explained like what I explained to you. Like, you're wrong. I don't know what's the matter, why you're saying these things, but you're wrong. And he comes at me with, calm down. Why are you so defensive? And I'm just like, dude, I was calm. You're and like acting like I had gone after him. Like I tracked him down to his YouTube channel, to his YouTube account or whatever, to tell him how awful he was. And I'm just like, dude, you came here. Like, you came here and you said nasty stuff. Like, I didn't do that to you. This is something you initiated. So you can't come to somebody, say a bunch of nasty shit to them. Pardon my French. Oh, I'm sorry. And then be like, dude, calm down. It's like, no. I wasn't calm, or I was calm when I was saying that, but like you're the one with issues here. You didn't have to come in and say anything. If you didn't like my video, just you can just walk away and I can't follow you. Sorry, serious, promise. I won't. Cross my heart and hope to die. I won't follow you. I won't even try and track you down or nothing. Anyway, that it's kind of bizarre to watch this happening in real time on some of my videos lately, where I'm just like, oh wow, oh shit. So I missed some comments. So let's see. They called me a girl, and I said I don't want to fight, which was like, but yeah, WTF. You're getting a fight verbally, and I was losing, but I came back after I became aware I'd become triggered by them. Nothing they said affected me. Yes. Yeah. And a lot of that is that these people are, they're so unhappy. They're so miserable in themselves. They like I said, they've got so much of this of mental things going on, whether it's cognitive dissonance or anxiety disorders or whatever, stuff that didn't even exist 50 years ago, or was called something more realistic than what we call stuff today. It's just these people are just trying to siphon off their anger, siphon off their nastiness and their bitterness onto you, because they don't have anything else. And that they say that's what we are. Like, people were saying that you're just a nasty, miserable cunt. No. And I'm just like, no, I'm actually a pretty happy guy. If you know me in real life, I like to laugh. I like to have fun. I like to joke around. I'm not a miserable guy, but bad movies make me a little miserable because I wasted money on them. And when I watch a franchise that I love get trashed, yeah, it makes me a little cranky, because it was an important part of my life growing up. And so when somebody screws with it, I get a little cranky and stuff. So I don't understand why people don't get that, but I think it's just important that we point out these things. We try and make sure that we are not doing that ourselves, that we be aware. And I think, yes, and Curtis, they do. They hate, and they want to put it off on somebody else. They want to blame you for them hating you. And it's like, no, because I don't hate them. People come to my channel and watch my videos, and it's like, I don't hate you. You came here and you listened, and if you disagree, that's fine. Because I love having a discussion with somebody who's knowledgeable, who's somebody who understands the source material, understands what I'm talking about, and wants to have an open discussion with me, even if they're coming at it from contrary views. It's just because that's fun. That's fun, because then you actually get to learn somebody else's point of view without getting called a cunt. And I know I've said that word a lot in this thing, but it was bizarre. It was bizarre. I was like, that's one. And I've been a trucker a long time, and I've been around a lot of mechanics and stuff, and I've been called a lot of stuff because, when you're a trucker, you just get called stuff. And you have people flipping you off all the time and stuff. But that was a new one on me. I was like, okay, all right, well, I guess whatever. I mean, you do you. Maybe you're British. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. I really do encourage you to go out and look up some stuff on this. It's a fascinating subject. Some things in psychology are fascinating. Some things are disturbing. Some things are just boring. But when you actually watch these things happening in real life, and you see what it does to people and the monsters it can turn them into, it's just sad, and it makes you become aware. And that's what I've been finding these last few weeks, is that I've been becoming much more aware of my own potential for cognitive dissonance. And being aware of it really helps. And it may help you see it in other and help lead them out of it. The problem is with most things, it's going to take you doing that yourself. You have to see it for yourself. But sometimes you might be able to help people actually do that. And so anyway, thank you guys for being here. Curtis says, not a lot of ignorant drivers will hate truckers. I always give a lot of space. Thank you. Just that's all we want. It's just space. We just don't want you. We don't want to end up on top of you any more than you want a truck driver on top of you. And I realize that's kind of a double entendre, but that's not what I meant. So anyway, thank you guys. Have an amazing happy Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. Not National Trans Activist Vision Day or whatever Joseph Biden said that it was today. Such a disgusting disgrace. Anyway, but thank you. Happy Easter, and may God be with you till we meet again. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you next time.